Hi, I'm glad you chose to join me today. Welcome to the Institute for Esoteric Studies. The term esoteric refers to something hidden, belonging to a select few, or not well known. Esoteric practices are not well known, not because they're guarded secrets, but because the average person doesn't understand or even recognize their value or power. Esoteric practices can best be thought of as the martial arts of living. They allow us to take control of our lives in ways that are incomprehensible to the average person. The average person feels and acts according to meaning. Their well-being is controlled by the meaning of the events that occur around them. Actually, it's the opposite that's true. It's our reaction to things that actually creates meaning. Now, this is a very powerful secret. We have the ability to control meaning and control our well-being just by how we choose to act. This was best described by author Carlos Castaneda when he wrote, "All the meaning that we give to what we perceive is our command, our gift of magic." Magical author William Gray wrote, "Once space-time events of any world cease to have power over us, we start having power over them." The famous behaviorist B.F. Skinner corroborated this from a scientific perspective when he wrote, "Our perception of the world, our knowledge of it, is our behavior with respect to the world." The idea that meaning is actually a creation of our actions probably strikes you as a ridiculous idea, and it should. All of us have been raised to think the opposite by our exposure to the social order. You can prove this idea to yourself just by conducting a little experiment. I want you to find an activity common to your daily life that's a frequent source of frustration. Some good examples of this would be a drive in rush hour traffic. It may be using a piece of equipment or software that you don't have a handle on, or is problematic, or isn't working well. Anything that causes frequent incidents of frustration. What I want you to do is engage or seek out that activity, and when something occurs that would frustrate you, instead of reacting normally, I want you to silently and mentally substitute a completely different reaction. Substitute a reaction that you would normally have to a positive event. So when something occurs, I want you to say yes and do a fist pump, or thank God, or thank you Jesus, or bless you, or wow, am I glad that happened. Now, you're not going to do this overtly. You want to keep this to yourself. Do it so that you're not observed. You don't want to tell anyone you're doing this. And the reason being is that you're going to be resistant enough to doing this just on your own. You don't have to enlist any help. You don't have to enlist the help of anyone else in feeling this way. Now, behaviorists would call this technique response substitution. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to expect, because I want you to discover this technique. I want you to discover the effect of this technique for yourself. But once you experience the power of doing this, you can then apply this to any aspect of your life. There's no limit to what you can do with this or the changes that you can affect. Now, esoteric practices are not in and of themselves magic, but they are the foundation for many of the magical systems. You can find bits and pieces of these practices in many different books on magic and metaphysics. Now, I'm not suggesting that you go out and take on a lot of new reading. Actually, I've taken care of that for you, and I'm going to lay these practices out in a complete coherent form in a series of videos. So thank you again for joining me, and be sure to come back.